should remember is she's meticulous and thorough. And she's not somebody who wastes her time in a day. She's somebody who uses it to do a lot of different things, including provide leadership for the county's program. So hopefully, Sharu, that's a decent overview.
That is a very good overview. Thank you, Vic. And I see Jay just joined us. I mean, he joined us.
He can fill in the rest.
Vic did a really good job. So thanks, Vic. I was trying to find, I have a couple questions or one question for you. Do you have hands-on the copy of the policy Cupertino passed? Because I found like a draft policy, but nothing that.
I have their policy. For those who don't know, and it's different from Milpitas. I mean, San Jose passed a policy. In fact, it was a write-up that we did about that. It was in the newspaper that got some of the council members and staff in Milpitas asking us. But the difference, of course, is their buildings are different from yours. You know, they have these. I remember when your city hall was built, I knew the mayor. I mean, I was a mayor of my city at the same time. But San Jose has these not 2 or 3 story. They have, those large high rises. So they put in things about facilities and so on and so forth. Campbell basically copied the San Jose policy, and Cupertino basically copied the Campbell San Jose policy. I'll send you a copy after the meeting, Jay.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
And Vic, you mentioned that Mego is going to present the annual report to the board. It looks like that it's on Wednesday, October 20th. That's what I see.
Okay. I couldn't remember the exact date, and I've got a whole bunch of things going on that week.
Yeah.
So I just picked one of the dates.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And Vic, yeah, he did a great job. So with like just updating on everything, the gun safety campaign that he referenced, we are pretty much in the thick of planning it. Try to just keep you all apprised of that. Our launch date, our launch date's now going to be, I think, mid-November or so, mid to late November. We aren't in a rush necessarily because we weren't trying to time this campaign up with any particular initiative, but we are excited that it's going to be out moving in towards the holidays, because that's always kind of a difficult time for many folks. So, but the planning process continues. One other thing that we do have like a really exciting update on is we've been working with Stanford on our safe messaging around suicide and media portrayals tool. Vic, I don't know if you updated on that, but that officially.
It's your baby.
Yeah. Very excited by that. That officially is up and live.
Yeah.
So we completed the tool. It's called Tempos, the tool for evaluating media portrayals of suicide. And this has just been a long running project that honestly started up with something Mego started in 2018 or so. And so it's across the finish line. It looks good. There are going to be some other parts, around it. We're hoping to have an interactive website, but that's not here just yet. But the tool itself is up. I can send a link and the PDF to the Hope Task Force. And we're very excited about that. Otherwise, I think Vic covered it all. Vic, there's going to be, I know tomorrow there's also an interventions work group meeting.
Yeah.
And there's a special presenter there. And I can't recall her name, but she's going to be presenting on mental health. I think she's from the VA. So she's more of an expert on mental health for veterans. And that's an open to the public meeting. So if anybody would like to go, you're free to go or virtually attend, I should say. I think those are my updates.
The one thing I was going to add, stupid me. The fourth thing, remember I mentioned the 3 ligatures, workplace, older adults, and the fourth one is, because it involves Milpitas, is Pacific Islanders, right? Focusing on that particular community. Not a large community in Santa Clara County, but the ones that do live in Santa Clara County, there's a significant portion, I think, that are in Milpitas. And it's a group doesn't have a high number of deaths, but it has a high rate because of the size of the population.
Yeah, Vic, you mentioned that the older adults wasn't necessarily like, kind of a data-driven concern, but the Pacific Islander one definitely is. Yeah, exactly. Because every time we have one of those, in our data reports every year, that bar is so high for their rate.
Yeah.
And we know they're a small group, but we're trying to make some inroads with them. And we think it's going to be something that we really need to work on, because that group is being really disproportionately impacted by suicide.
We talked about it as a prototype too, even though it's not a large group, it does have a high rate. And we've talked about whatever lessons we learn from the different work that we're trying to do in that community to see if that's, we can replicate it for larger or other groups. I was going to mention, I don't know why I thought of this, but I should mention one other thing. At the state level, the state legislature passed a couple of bills. The governor signed them into law on Sunday. SB, I think it's 14 and SB 22, 224.
224.
Yeah, 224. And those bills deal with student education, middle and high school students getting coursework and education around mental health. So it'll have an impact on Milpitas, as it will, whatever the other 1,000 and something school districts are in the state of California. And I partly bring it up for two reasons. One of the people who initiated that bill lives in Santa Clara County and works on our suicide prevention, or works with our suicide prevention program. And the other reason why I mentioned this, especially for Jay's benefit, is I was driving in the car today and listening to some music on some station, and for the commercial break they mentioned that those two bills had been passed and that they would have an impact on educating students around mental health, which the commentator said was significant given everything that people have talked about with COVID. And I think for a lot of you, this didn't start with COVID. There was plenty of issues going on long before COVID. But anyway, I thought it was interesting that just in passing, it was brought up on a radio news announcement.
John, your hand's raised. Did you have a question for Vic or for me?
For both of you. I know we touched on this briefly last time, but especially as it relates to the older adults and myself being based out of the senior center, I mentioned that we had that donation from the family estate for social services. So that might be something that we could leverage to help in that area. And I just want to know if there are any opportunities for the older adults and the Pacific Islander objectives to maybe pilot something here in Milpitas.
I'll leave that to you, Jay, to answer.
That's very interesting. And because of the four objectives that Vic mentioned, those came out of the interventions work group. So John, I wonder if you're interested in, one, if you can, attending tomorrow's meeting, and if not, presenting that to them. Chris Miller and Evelyn Quintanilla, obviously, Evelyn, they might be able to talk on that a little bit more. Because I chair the communications work group, but what we're doing is we try to work in like kind of lockstep with interventions to establish like aligned goals and see what we can pull off. So that would be really cool.
Sure, and I apologize. Yeah, I do want to. I would love to start attending those again. I personally gained so much from those. I'll have to check my calendar for tomorrow, but at the very least, I'd like to be able to connect with Evelyn and kind of share that.
Even if you can't attend tomorrow, if feel free to reach out to Evelyn and you can copy me on it, and then we can try to see what we can spitball together.
Sounds great.
If you can't attend tomorrow, John, don't worry. I'll volunteer you in absentia to do some work.
Actually,
Chris is very good at that.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I certainly don't want to overstep, because ultimately that'll be decision with Tegan and Charo, and as far as those monies. But it seems like it's a nice alignment, and kind of in the spirit of how that family wanted those monies dedicated. So.
I will tell you,
Yeah,
I
no,
will tell you this, and it isn't for Milpitas, but I was talking with a state assembly member a couple of months ago. We were talking about suicide prevention. And one of the things that the staff member mentioned was the number of calls they got last year from older adults, that it had gone from, whatever the level was to way up.
Yeah.
And so, bless you for trying to do, work in this area. Because, that staff member made it clear that there was something that was going on, in a district that mainly is in this county, around older adults having difficulty.
Great. We'll partner up.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Thank you, John, for bringing that up. And thanks, Vic and Jay, for always sharing so much information. Jay, do we know when the intervention work group tomorrow meets? Do we know the time?
Yes, let me double check on that, because I also have a lot of dates floating around in my head. I want to give you the correct time. It is 3 o'clock to 4:30 p.m.
Oh, right in middle of my meeting. I don't know how, but I have 5 Zoom meetings tomorrow. That's my
high demand.
one.
High demand.
I'll touch base with Evelyn. I know me and her are talking around bringing something to Milpitas in the future. Nice. And I think, John, we can meet, Tegan, and you can meet and then bring it to Evelyn. Yeah.
And actually, the Evelyn's co-chair, the one I mentioned, Chris Miller. Vic, is he who you're referring to, who helped with a little bit with that legislation for 224?
Yeah. He's the one who proposed it.
Yeah.
And he helped write it. It got significantly altered, but no, it was
started the ball rolling.
Yeah. And he's the guy who tried to promote it up and down the state.
Yeah. Thank you. And Vic, those to SB 24 to 24, I think that's a good win. Bringing mental health services to schools. So, I'm seeing it every day now. I think it's much needed.
We promoted a few years ago, we got the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. This is something else that I do outside of the county. We got them to make a requirement for all school administrators in their credentialing process to have some education on mental health and suicide prevention. We tried to do that with the teachers and got resistance from some of the teachers' unions. But we know other places and through other actions, including in our county, a program that we have going on, have educated teachers. So, we've educated parents and we've educated teachers and we've educated administrators, but we haven't done something. There has been some work, but this will make it pervasive, that young people will get an idea about their own situation and maybe what they can do either to help themselves or to help friends. So to me, it's all good.
Yeah, no, I think it's a pretty good win. Moving on to my part of the agenda. So we did, Cassie's staff supported us in bringing a supportive talk for teens last week, actually September 29th. And about 9 teenagers from high schools in Milpitas attended this talk. 2 were panelists. We had a good discussion about how to support their mental health, transitioning back to school, the rigorous routine, and also how to be a support for the peers. That was very important. And I was glad we did that talk because they were my new participants, people who don't usually attend the programs. So I was happy to see some new faces. We have another one for the seniors coming up on Monday, the 18th, and that's hybrid. Some of them want to do it on Zoom, but because our senior center is open, some people will come here. And actually Liliana, who's not here today because she had another big meeting at her work, is going to present some mindfulness activities during that talk. Moving on to our next item, and I don't know, Tegan, do you want me to just give a brief outline before about why don't you talk about the holiday magic? Because you know obviously more than me.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah.
So holiday magic, I think I mentioned last time, the city is doing a holiday event that's going to take place in downtown Milpitas. It's part of our Main Street revitalization effort. And we're hoping to bring folks in to enjoy a good time and be together for the first time in a long time at a city event. But because it falls during the holidays, we know that a lot of people are hurting during the holidays, and we would like for Hope to have a presence at that event. We've identified some particular opportunities for us to be there. We have a nostalgia night, senior night on Monday the 13th from 4 to 9. We have a global night where we're inviting all different cultures on the 9th. And then the 11th is a Saturday, an all-day Saturday. And so those are days that we identified as potential opportunities for Hope to table, and wanted to see if anybody here is interested in volunteering, being out there. While our subject matter is heavy, the event itself will be fun, and would love to be able to pass out information to a lot of people who don't normally see us and aren't aware of our presence in the community. So I'm taking volunteers. And if you want to think about it and contact me later, that's cool too.
And I think me, John, and Tegan are already going to be there, but obviously running around doing other stuff as well.
Sure. Yeah, it would be nice to have some members of Hope participating at it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all see, but looks like Marcia and Dawn both have mentioned volunteering in the chat.
Oh, that's perfect. I see it now.
Got silent zeal.
We will take you up on it. If you have particular days that you want to claim, let us know.
Yeah, just let me know the dates and the times that are necessary, and I'll work it out.
That sounds great, Marcia. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Great.
you.
Well, I'll be in touch with both of you. Oh, and Pastor Mize has joined us too and is also volunteering. So that's great. Okay, thank you. I very much appreciate your enthusiasm for that.
Thank you. And it's nice to see you both after a little gap. I know you both have been busy, but thank you for meeting with me and John the other day as well.
Yeah, it was great. I'm actually right now up on the Oregon coast.
Oh, okay.
Enjoying the ocean.
Yes. Moving on to other work group updates. Any update from diversity work group?
No, we haven't met lately. Although in hearing Vic's comments earlier, it sounds like perhaps we should look at seeing if there's a Pacific Islander representative that might like to join our group here in Milpitas. So maybe that can be something that we can focus that group's attention to.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe we can work towards it, Tegan, me and you, and then. Mm-hmm. So I know we have a update from John for youth group. John, do you want to update everyone? Your mic.
So bad at that. Get them on mute. Don, I'll connect with you offline and love to meet with you. Similar to Marcia, Charo, and I meeting, and then also Pastor Mize, Charo, and I meeting. I thought it was a great opportunity to kind of do a deeper dive into how we can help the youth and teens in our community. And I just thought it was really fruitful. one kind of common thread, one area that we hit on was the concept of having just kind of a tell your story type of information, or I don't know if the term's blog, but just multiple stories out there of people's experiences and just giving hope to people with the thought of you never know who's going to come across that and read that and you know, it might just enlist, you know, hope or just a positive thought. And Marcia, I don't know if you'd like to share a little bit more about that, or just I think we just had a very fruitful conversation, and as a result, we have a couple interns here through the public health department at our senior center. I've been able to work with them and do some research on that, just see if there's any best practices around that, any just nuggets that we can you know, uncover and just kind of build on here. So it feels like that's our future, at least right now, just kind of taking that approach of getting just different stories out there to spur hope. Marcia, Pastor Mize, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you covered it really well. Thank you. It was a good meeting. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Likewise.
Remembering the stories that Marcia told and Anthony, the council member, and that young person that night, that was very powerful. So.
Yeah, so we'll meet, Dawn. We'll plan that in the next week or so, and then we'll get our whole group together. So we'll have more to share next meeting.
That sounds perfect. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, John. I know that was a good meeting, and what John, you know, we thought it would be a good idea to have an open mic with a mini mental health provider resource fair in the background, so people can also come and get some resources, and if they're comfortable, they can share their stories. Or if we do not get too many people to do that in person, we could do something online. And again, we could invite mental health providers to attend that event online as well, to answer any questions in the chat box. So very exciting. And thank you, Pastor Mize and Marcia, for attending those meetings. Moving on to partnership with public safety. I know Tegan had an update.
Actually, I think if Tyler doesn't mind, I'm going to put him on the spot because he has more current information than I do and can tell us how things are going in partnering with public safety and bringing presentations to the officers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was speaking with Adela from NAMI, and we actually had our first briefing training on Monday. They came out and they did their NAMI presentation in our own voice. They're also scheduled for Thursday as well. We get about, I would say, about 10 to 15 officers per briefing training. And we're working on 2 additional trainings in the upcoming weeks to reach out to the swing shift crew as well. So at the end of all 4 trainings, I'd say about 80% of our entire staff would be trained up on the different resources that NAMI has, so they can better assist people out in the field. And out of that 80%, I mean, most, if not all of our patrol division would be trained at that point.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. We're super happy about that. And then of course we will continue with another organization presenting for you guys in the winter after the calendar turns.
Yes.
That's great. Yeah, and Lieutenant Jemison, I just want to mention that you have a really good staff at the police station. I was there the other day and they were just so considerate and so nice to the family and me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you again for all the help that both you and Tegan provided.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Moving on to my update, and Jay.
Can I ask a quick question of the
Yes.
lieutenant? So you found the NAMI training useful, it sounds like, and helpful?
Yes, extremely useful, not just from a resource standpoint, but I know in speaking with some of the officers that were in that presentation, they had their own family members that they thought the resources would be valuable for as well. So it helped them in that aspect too.
That's good to hear, since I'm the co-president of the NAMI Santa Clara County chapter. So I'll relay your compliments back to staff.
Yes, please do. I appreciate that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. We all love NAMI. Such a great resource in our county. Moving on to Aapi Empowerment. I did provide an update at our last meeting about our group meeting that we had met. Jay, me, Liliana, and Emerald had met in the summer. And so we are kicking off AAPI support groups, one for the teens and one for the adults in the coming winter. We have one scheduled for Feb and another one for March. I'm trying to get Asian Americans for Community Involvement, Aapi, to support us for those events. I haven't heard back yet. So hopefully by next meeting, I'll have an update. But Jay, do you want to add anything? And I don't see Emerald.
Nope, I don't have anything.
No, yeah, it's, and I'll try to see if Emerald can support us as well. Come to one of these meetings if she has time. Other than that, I don't have any updates. Any questions, updates?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was wondering, you know, we are intent on making persons aware of resources that are available if they're feeling like they're in trouble. Do we have any idea as to what the utilization is of those resources? In other words, are those resources being utilized? Do we have any idea as to the extent to which the various resources have been utilized?
No, that's a good question, Tom.
I only ask good questions.
I know you do. So when I refer people to resources from social services standpoint, I have the data that I have referred people, but I don't usually see if they reached out to those resources. That would be a good question. Say if NAMI has any residents from Milpitas reaching out to them, or behavioral health, or other county programs. So I think I won't have an answer to the data collection for that question, but if Jay or Vic, if you have any ideas.
If you send me something, send me an email and I'll ask at the NAMI end.
Yeah.
Does anybody feel like that might be useful information to have?
I think it would be very interesting for us. It's hard to gather.
I would imagine so. I'm not sure.
I mean, we can measure more in terms of how many contacts we had, and Charu knows how many people she's referred to each type of service or agency. We can also measure things like, our little survivor guide that we printed for the officers to carry. We're already on our second printing of that. So I know that that's being used. So things like that we can measure, but yeah, it'd be really good to hear from the agencies if they hear from our customers.
Yeah, and we also do social media posts. So if people read that and reach out to the phone numbers that we list on the social media, we would not have any ways of tracking that. But we can certainly reach out to our partner agencies and see if they are seeing any residents arise in Milpitas residents. It would be interesting to see a data like that.
I also have another question.
Yeah.
Our focus is on prevention. However, would we be interested, or are we interested in helping those individuals who've had, an experience with a loved one or a family member or whatever, taking their life by suicide? The reason I asked the question, the last meeting we had, a very close friend of mine was listening in, and she lost her son, and she's a member of a group. She's not in the local area. She just happened to be visiting. She's in the New York area. And there's a local chapter which she meets and says is really outstanding, but it's a national organization and it's called Compassionate Friends. And I don't know if that's something we should be aware of, or whether that fits into our, our area that we want to be.
So Tom, I'll answer that question just because from social services standpoint, that very much would fall under social services. And I think we are already doing that, supporting the families who've lost a loved one, or with mental health needs, with financial needs, and various other needs that come along with that. In last few months, phone calls to me regarding mental health support for families who've either lost a loved one has gone up, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine. Are you familiar with that national organization? There may even be chapters in this area.
I'm going to research it. I've written down the name.
Yeah, Compassionate Friends.
Yeah, but in my work with the families, supporting them, I've found that there are many resources in our county.
Oh, good.
Yeah, if we can tap on those resources, starting with NAMI and county services, there is a good handful of services that we can tap into and support people.
I think survivor support does fall right in line with our mission, both supporting people who may have attempted and family members left behind. So, we have it right now already on the website as one of the things that we do. And I think any ideas for us in terms of making that support available and part of our routine offerings, it would be welcome and needed.
So I did a good job of displaying my ignorance, huh?
I think you did a good job of introducing us to an organization that we maybe hadn't heard of and connected with. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And, just in my research in last few months, I found that what we don't have is too many groups for survivors or the families.
Yeah.
And that's one thing missing. And I know that's a conversation, Jay, I had with Evelyn, and we are trying to figure out mostly community-specific support groups.
Mm-hmm.
Like for Pacific Islanders, it's all the way out in San Mateo County. So just working on that would be, I think, a beneficial, step to take. Okay, moving on. If anyone has any updates, it's good to see so many people today. So thank you for coming. We missed you all. If we don't have any updates, then our next meeting is November 9th. And Vic, maybe I should ask this. Do you want me to put you on agenda as well from next time onwards?
Well, I only filled in because Jay wasn't here right at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
He acts as our spokesperson for our SPOC, we call it, county work.
Perfect. Yeah, Jay is already on the agenda.
and then I'll harass him if he doesn't do it.
We have a hand raised from Urvish Kumar.
A member of the public,
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Did you have a question for us?
Your microphone might be off, Mr. Mehta.
Am I audible now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Thank you very much, Tegan. Really appreciate that. I wanted to thank the Suicide Prevention Task Force, city staff, as well as all the task force members, chair and vice chairperson, for the opportunity, and as well as to consider the comments as a public speaker during this meeting. First of all, what I wanted to bring with respect to the Suicide Prevention Task Force is to establish the task force as a channel, and as well as a counseling body of a city of Milpitas, where they would be having a hotline number in case, if any, with regards to, since being the council body of the city of Milpitas, it is rather would be an advising body of a city of Milpitas, but it would be also imperative to consider that if we happen to have a nonprofit organization working directly with the Suicide Prevention Task Force, then the diversified community that is something to include, and as well as to engage, is the LGBTQ community within the city of Milpitas. It is very important to address some of the sensitivity as well. Important to address the issue of the nature, and as well as the sensitivity of the community that is well-being around within the city of Milpitas. Hence, some of the organization which is being in a city of Milpitas, as well as within the county of Santa Clara, being a part of a diversified community, it is important to address some of those individuals, as well as the community members, part of a city of Milpitas, where they are required a help, or the one which is in the need of a help. The Suicide Prevention Task Force is the task force to help out. For example, the nonprofit organization Catholic Charities of Santa Clara, Second Harvest Food Bank of Santa Clara, Salvation Army of Santa Clara, as well as Sacred Heart Community of Santa Clara. They work on a day-to-day basis to address the community which requires the food in need, to save those who are in a need of a food. And so would be the case with the Hope Suicide Task Force, that having an affiliation and a collaboration with the nonprofit organization, which also works in accordance with the Hope Suicide Prevention Task Force and vision of a Hope Suicide Prevention Task Force, to address the community well-being towards the LGBTQ community, the people who are in need of a food, the senior care center who are deprived of resources due to the age constraint, and as well as being required the senior care center need. Then those are the communities which requires to be connected through the nonprofit organization to the Hope Suicide Prevention Task Force, such that any individual belong to any community requires a help from a Hope Suicide Prevention Task Force, be benefited from such council body of a city of Milpitas. Also, would be imperative to establish a hotline number where they would directly be able to communicate and contact either a nonprofit organization or the city at the community center, so they be helped as well. Thank you very much for the consideration.
Thank you so much for your suggestions, Mr. Mehta. We do have our county suicide crisis hotline published on our website, and share that with folks. And it's always good for us to be acquainted with all the nonprofits in the area that provide various services. And I know Charu has an extensive directory and personal contacts with all those organizations that you mentioned. So we are able to hook people up with those as needed. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tegan. Really appreciate it. Always good to hear from you. And so will be with the Charu.
Thank you.
Charu, I think.
Okay, I think it's time to end the meeting. If we have no other questions, we'll meet on November 9th. Thank you, everyone.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks,
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.